So now I'm going to talk to you about how I would plan a sporting activity. So the first thing that I'll look at is the roles and responsibilities, and I will look first of all at the leaders. I'll make sure that the leaders have the correct level of skill ability to match the needs of the people they'll be leading. I'll make sure the coaches have the correct qualification at the correct level depending on what they might be doing. So I'd need to have at least level 2 coach if they were going to run a netball for 11s plus. I would also make sure that first aid is in place and that the first aiders are fully aware of their roles and responsibilities. The next thing I'd look at in my plan is making sure that the equipment is all correctly maintained and safe. I would look at using the correct type of equipment, so I would be making sure that, for example, I was using short tennis rackets if they were a toddler's group. I'd be looking at how the equipment was used during the process of them doing their activity. I'd look at the suitability of the site. So if I was doing netball, I would look at is the hard netball court suitable for the activity to take place? And then I would look at how suitable the participants are. So I would see how the young people were matched to the activity. I would not, for example, get 6-year-olds to do full contact rugby and scrummaging. I'd make sure I was following the guidelines set out by the Rugby Union or the Netball Federation or the Tennis Federation, depending on the sport, to make sure I'm working within the guidelines. And I would make sure that my participants and leaders had the correct insurance cover. In participants, this would be an example of getting consent from parents, because I'll be in loco parentis, making sure that leaders know exactly what they should do and when they should do it. I would make sure that any injuries are recorded properly as following the Health and Safety at Work Act. I will also review my plan. So in reviewing my plan, I will be able to look at the effectiveness of the risk management. So this is where I'll have done a risk assessment and I will have ranked things and scored them as to likelihood of injury and how severe the injury is. I'll have then put in control measures to bring down my overall score to make sure it's safe for the activity to take place. I'll also make sure that any near misses or dangerous occurrences are recorded properly in the accident book should any accidents occur. It's really important that the right group are suited to the activity that is taking place. Again, I go back to my example of the under-6s doing full contact rugby and scrummaging. I would use briefings. So in the morning before the session, I would make sure that I explained to which activity leaders and which coaches they are allocated to, which group of students. I'd make sure that the spaces were allocated so there was no danger of the wrong person doing the wrong thing. I'd also review the suitability of the equipment. So after the activity, was this the right equipment used for those students? If there was an accident, was it because of the equipment? If there wasn't an accident, how could I make it safer in the future? I will look at support of other agencies. So I would be looking, for example, on a big netball tournament to perhaps have the St John's Ambulance there. And I would also make sure that I am reviewing how we're doing the activity in lines with governing bodies. So, for example, the NGB for rugby, for football is the FA, and they might have different guidelines as to what size groups can use what size spaces. Local authority might have the same guidelines, and in terms of audience participation, I might need to look at police guidelines for my activity. The last thing I would review is I would look at things that went very well in the activity and the whole risk assessment process, and look for areas that I can improve. By doing all these things, I'll be able to plan a safe sporting activity.